I'm Elaine Race at the United Nations headquarters in New York, and this is UN Insider.
Coming up.
The cause of gender equality has never been more urgent, nor the obstacles in our way more apparent. But our determination has never been more unshakable.
Delegates from around the globe gather to take stock in the push for a more equal world for women and girls. A special look at the UN's Commission on the Status of Women.
We call for the reinstatement immediately of the ceasefire. This is critical to save children's lives.
A collapsing ceasefire and a possible return to all-out fighting. Growing concern as Israel resumes airstrikes on Gaza and the humanitarian situation deteriorates for those inside the Palestinian territory. Next.
"2025 must be a turning point, a moment in the history of this long struggle where we embrace bold, urgent, and transformative action, where we show our resolve to push forward for rights, for equality, and for empowerment for all women and girls."
That's UN Women Executive Director Sima Bahous. This month, her agency is in the spotlight. March is Women's History Month. March 8th marked the International Day of Women, and over the last 2 weeks, thousands of people from all over the world have gathered here in New York for the 69th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. The UN has laid out its vision of how to achieve a more equal world with a new 6-step action plan. Here's Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed.
Achieving gender equality is not only an issue of justice, it holds the key to unlocking progress on the SDGs and lasting peace. The United Nations remains and is committed to taking bold actions, working with member states and partners to build a future where gender equality is not just a goal, but a lived reality for the millions being left behind.
This month, the UN launched the Gender Equality Clarion Call, an urgent pledge to advance the rights of women and girls. It comes as the UN marks the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration on Gender Equality. What's changed since the declaration and what still needs to be done are key themes for the Commission on the Status of Women. I sat down with Sarah Hendricks, Director of the UN Women's Intergovernmental Policy and Program Division. Sarah, this is a really important time in UN Women's calendar with women and girls from all over the world converged on UN headquarters in New York. Can you describe the mood, the atmosphere, and just what you've seen?
You know, Elaine, it's great to be here. The mood over these past 2 weeks has been absolutely riveting. There are quite literally thousands upon thousands of activists, feminists, government leaders, civil society organizers, private sector leaders, UN system leaders, all whom have been gathered with one main goal. How can we make the world better for women and girls? They've been here to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. And for those who don't know what that is, that was made 30 years ago in 1995 as the most progressive, historic, and bold framework for gender equality and women's rights right around the world.
If you can share with us some of the progress that has been made in the 30 years and really what you'll look toward in the future.
So what we see over these past 30 years is that the world is actually more equal for women and girls than it has been at any other point in history. There are now more girls who've completed education than any other time in the world's history. There are increasingly lower maternal mortality rates. There are laws to prevent violence. Women have risen up to kind of grab hold and harness their power and have taken on new roles in the workplace and have broken barriers at home, at work, in society, in their lives in so many ways. But there's always a but and yet. What we do know is that this progress has been too slow It's been far too uneven. It's been far too fragile. And frankly, and probably most importantly, it can't be counted on. We do see that that progress that seemed like it was always going in an upward trajectory, now we see that there is pushback, regression, and changes in direction. For example, a woman every 10 minutes loses her life by femicide to someone in her own family. We also see that the labor force participation rate has not moved in more than 20 years, not even an iota. Just last year, the number of women who are killed in armed conflict quite literally doubled. The context of climate and conflict and crises has created the conditions for incredible challenges in the lives of women and girls right across the world.
You know, there's a lot happening in the world of technology with artificial intelligence and this digital divide. How are you helping provide access to girls and women who are in some of these countries to keep up with what's happening that's transforming our landscape?
The gender digital divide is of utmost importance to UN Women's priorities, because unlocking that gender digital divide can actually unlock economic dividends and a digital transformation that fundamentally can change the lives of women and girls. We do see, however, that particularly in the context of conflict, of crisis, where poverty is overlaid in women and girls' daily lives, their access to things like a handset, to the internet, lag far beyond men and boys. And this has so many implications. It means that they don't have a digital bank account. It means that they don't have necessarily the same access to STEM education. We do know that while technology creates so many opportunities, it also comes with incredible challenges and risks. And we see this every day in the ways in which women and girls are increasingly vulnerable to online violence, sexual abuse, and harassment. Right now, the latest data tells us that 90 to 95% of all of the deep fake images online are actually capitalizing on women.
There are so many young women and girls here in New York. What are you hearing from them?
They're saying a few things to us. Number one, they're saying we are here and we need a legitimate space at the table, whether that's at the peacemaking table, the decision-making table, but also especially at the table where resources are defined and resources are decided. They're also telling us that their voices not only matter, but they can't be tokenistic. We need to lean in and curate those spaces to ensure that women and girls are at the heart of everything that the world does in order to advance changes for the better of everyone.
Sarah Hendricks, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Elaine. It's really been a pleasure.
Let's take a look at some of the other issues on the UN's agenda.
Israeli airstrikes across Gaza killed hundreds of Palestinians and threatened to reignite the fighting between Israel and Hamas. The surprise attacks resulted in one of the deadliest days of the conflict that has killed more than 48,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza's health ministry. The UN is urging both Israel and Hamas to resume the ceasefire and calling for the release of all remaining hostages.
Shudija is monitoring the latest developments inside the UN. Dija.
Yes, Elaine. This week, Gaza once again became the focus at the United Nations as the situation continues to deteriorate. The Security Council held two separate meetings on the Middle East, one on Monday and another on Thursday. The first meeting addressed the humanitarian crisis in Gaza following Israel's decision to cut humanitarian aid 2 weeks ago. And here is what Tom Fletcher, UN Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, had to say.
It proves what's possible when we're allowed to do our job. We cannot and must not accept a return to pre-ceasefire conditions or the complete denial of humanitarian relief. Civilians must be protected. Their essential needs must be met. International law must be respected.
The second meeting focused on Israeli hostages. Ambassador Danny Danon of Israel reaffirmed Israel's determination to bring the hostages home at any cost.
For too long, the UN has looked away. For too long, the Security Council has looked away. But Israel will not look away. We will not fail them.
And here's a warning from Dorothy Shia, acting representative of the U.S. mission to the UN.
President Trump has been clear. Hamas must release all 59 hostages immediately, including American citizens, or they will continue to pay a steep price.
But my question is, who is really paying the price?
Just now you said Hamas will pay a steep price. Is Hamas or the Gazan people?
Ambassador Shia said that if Hamas not release all hostages, Hamas will pay a steep price. Do you think it's Hamas paying the steep price or the Gazan people paying the steep price now?
Isn't it obvious when you kill, more than 400 Palestinians, large number of them women and children, is that the Palestinian people are paying the price?
Have you had any contact with now U.S. administration, the Trump administration now? Beyond the Security Council, there is more to discuss about the situation in Gaza. Israeli forces have not only carried out airstrikes, but have also launched what they called a limited ground operation. Well, to me, this suggests that the ceasefire agreement in place since January 19th has effectively ended. Does the UN agree?
It seems the escalation has been built from 2 weeks ago when Israel decided to halt all the humanitarian convoy get into Gaza. First, that's the first step, and then the electricity, and now the airstrike. Does the UN consider this round of ceasefire ended?
I would just refer you to what we've been saying. The Secretary General made very clear, from his standpoint, that it's important for the ceasefire to be respected, and for the humanitarian assistance to be resumed without any hindrance.
This week, a UN ops officer was killed and 5 others were injured in an explosion in Deir al-Balah, Gaza. According to a UN statement, an explosive ordnance was either dropped or fired at the infrastructure, detonating inside the building. However, the UN has not specified who was responsible. I asked the spokesperson for the Secretary General.
When you read out this and when I saw the statement from UN Ops, they didn't really specify or confirm who is behind this. Like from which party? Is it IDF? Is it Hamas? So you have no information?
I think it is too soon to determine. Like I said, the information we have is that this was an explosive ordnance that was either dropped into the building or fired at the building. It was not a mine or anything like that. It was some form of ordnance being dropped or fired either by land, sea, or air.
That's all from me for now.
Coming up.
And the question here is not so much why. The question is why not? Why not have a Secretary General that is a woman?
UN Insider.
All you need to know about China. China 24, only on CGTN.
Gender equality is one of the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The institution champions women's rights around the world. But even inside the halls of the UN, there is work to be done. Since 1947, only 7% of all permanent representatives to the UN have been women, and a woman has never served as Secretary General. There are efforts underway to change that. I sat down with Susana Malcorra. She is a former UN official and co-founder and president of Global Women Leaders Voices. Susana, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
You recently released a major report, Women in Multilateralism 2025, a major report as the United Nations marks 80 years this year. And looking through some of the numbers, they could and should be better. I'll read some to you. 7%, only 7% of the more than 2,800 permanent representatives have been women. 73 countries have never appointed a female UN ambassador. Want to get your thoughts and reflections on some of those numbers.
It is very interesting. 73 countries, you said it, never appointed a woman to the UN. But interestingly, some of those countries are very strong on the issue of women representation. Some of them even have feminist foreign policies. And still they have not appointed a woman. So we want to bring this to the fore because it is critical to have the fair representation of women in the governing bodies, particularly in the one that is most central to the decision process, like the UN General Assembly, and the one that has the most democratic representation of the world. So half the peoples need to be represented there.
Only 4 female UN General Assembly presidents and not a single UN Secretary General who has been a female. Some startling numbers as the United Nations really tries to push gender equality.
Well, again, 2 very strong figures, in 79 years, only 4 women. There will be another woman next year because the president of the UNGA 80 is going to be Germany, and they have indicated that it's going to be a woman. And you're right, never a woman Secretary General. And here, I think what is important is to say, not only because women have not been represented, it's because women bring a different perspective to the issues. And that's why we believe it's time to have a woman Secretary General. We have this Madam Secretary General campaign, and it's time to think about rotating the presidency of the General Assembly between men and women to allow for this a very, very clear notion of women getting their share. But again, not only because of the rights of women, because it's justice, it's because there is an opportunity to approach the issues from a different angle.
We do know that the next Secretary General will come from the Latin American region. I know your name has been thrown about. Tell us some of the other women that are in the conversation. And, they represent a region that has seen women at the top levels of leadership.
Well, on a personal note, I'm not a candidate. I'm here to make sure that there are enough candidates. I was a candidate last time around, been there, done it. Now my job from GWL Voices, as president of GWL Voices, is to make sure that we have a deep bench of women that are put forward. And you're right, our region is a region that has shown a strong presence of women at the leadership position in the countries, and we have the opportunity to showcase that as things move forward. There are very, very good names in our region. There are very good names in the world, and we just need them to be suggested by their countries, by their governments, and then for the process to move and really embrace this idea that it's the time for a woman, not because of being a woman, it's because women bring strong stewardship of resources. Women do a very, very good job at managing risks. Women are very good at bridging, at listening, at trying to build consensus. And what else is needed in this day and age than a consensus builder? So we believe women, competent women are there, many competent women, and many competent women that tick these boxes that are, in our view, so badly required.
Susana Mokora, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
UN Insider.
Whether it's about your education, the home you live in, or the items you buy, your money has a story to tell. Because every business story is a human story. Global Business.
Last year, 393 million women and girls were living in extreme poverty. Policies ensuring equal wages and social protections could reduce that figure to 115 million by 2050. At the current pace, it would take 137 years to end extreme poverty among women and girls. Around the world, poverty disproportionately impacts women and girls. Unequal economic opportunities and limited educational resources contribute to the problem. For many women and girls, education can create changes that extend far beyond the classroom.
Every weekday, 16-year-old Maria Gloria Martin packs up her books and supplies and walks to her school in the city. It's a 90-minute journey to a place that offers an education she could never get in rural Guatemala. A journey to a place that puts her light years ahead of her peers. Throughout Guatemala, 2 million school-aged children do not attend school, and the majority of them are indigenous girls. According to the international nonprofit group Population Council, 39% of indigenous women in Guatemala are illiterate. Many are expected to stay home to help with childcare and household chores. Maria Gloria's family is Cochiquel Indian. Her parents are barely literate and don't speak Spanish. When their daughter was offered a chance to get an education, they jumped at the opportunity. Her school is called the Maya. It opened in 2017 and it's funded by private philanthropists. It's located in the majority indigenous province of Solala in Guatemala's western highlands. Maya's approach is to go beyond traditional education, helping the girls build life skills and self-confidence in a holistic way.
Since there are only girls here, it's very different from other schools where there are both girls and boys. As girls, we have some ideas that are different from the boys' ideas. We are different and sometimes they do not respect us. I got interested in this school because I can learn a lot of things and I couldn't learn elsewhere.
The Maya School emphasizes developing leadership and communication skills. Each student has a mentor who gets deeply involved in the girl and her family's lives.
Your brother is Jonathan. Her brother is Jonathan, and you wrote
nuevas ideas, un foco, preguntas de interrogación, con otro color. Hay variaciones y no más. Pedir esa colaboración que
Mentors regularly visit students' homes to see how the girls are using the social and emotional skills they've learned in the classroom.
One of the things that we find quite striking is the way relationships and power structures change within the family. Before, typically only the father was allowed to make decisions. Now there is a democracy in these families. All family members discuss what is best for them. Even if it is only the girl who goes to our school, the family learns to see itself as a team. The idea is that the entire family is working together to find ways to get ahead. We're breaking taboos and traditional beliefs in a friendly way.
Maria Gloria's parents sent her to Maya after sending her older sister, Yoli, there as well.
It makes me very happy to see my daughters advance towards their goals. Maria Gloria continues to better herself just like Yoli. Yoli is already a math teacher. It's very satisfying for us as parents. We didn't have access to education in our time. It's important for our children to have access because that means the entire family will develop, our community will also grow. My daughters will become great professionals and have a great future.
Organizers say these targeted programs have a long-lasting effect because they've changed perceptions and they reveal to these women what they're truly capable of accomplishing.
I'm Elaine Reyes at UN headquarters in New York. Thanks for being a UN Insider. I'm Elaine Reyes at the United Nations headquarters in New York, and this is a special edition of UN Insider.
UN Insider serves as an important window for the global audience to better understand multilateral diplomacy.
It's very important for the media to cover the United Nations, to seek to understand and tell the story in ways that the average person in the street can understand.
I think it's very important that the media should contribute to conveying important messages about the reality of today's challenges.
UN Insider has come to the UN, and we at the UN are so grateful to have it here. It is the only dedicated TV program to what is happening in the UN, and it is reaching so many people with, as it says in its title, inside the UN stories.
Media plays an important role in providing objective information across the world.
We think that media has a strong power of uplifting, what we are trying to convey as messages as developing countries.
We need the mobilization of all peoples, of whole government and whole of society, and media can help us to be informed so that we also can make our part.
I think the media is fundamental to enable citizens across the world, first of all, to understand what is the rationale of having the United Nations. It's not that there is one place on planet Earth that will tell the rest of the world what to do. It is a much more complex story.